Hello, everybody. I hope you are doing well at home. This is the first video clip for the lecture of web geovisualization. I'm planning to use 3 to 4 video clips to finish the lecture, each one with 10 to 15 minutes. You will also notice that the length of this lecture is shorter than usual. That's because this lecture has been streamlined because there are studies telling people that um, when people are looking at online videos, they could easily get distracted, and the length of each video clip should not be longer than 15 minutes. And for the whole lecture, it should not be longer than 45 or 50 minutes. So that's the reason why I kept the most important knowledge in this lecture and deleted some knowledge that is not that important. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the history of cartography first. So although thematic mapping can be dated back to 16th century, um, before 19th century, people usually used general purpose maps. Okay, it means that maps were only limited to recording positions of buildings, roads, and other geographic entities. There was no specific purpose for a specific map. It was only for recording locations. And actually, the cartography, this discipline, developed pretty slow until 3 milestones. They all appeared in 20th century. The first one is the rise of thematic cartography. People realized that, okay, we may want to emphasize a specific topic in a map instead of um, only providing locations. The second milestone is the rise of GIS, which is Geographic Information System or Geographic Information Science. Here, let's just limit GIS to geographic information systems. And the third milestone is internet. Internet is not only a milestone for cartography or for geography, it's a milestone for human history, isn't it? So I'm going to talk about each of these milestones a little bit, okay? So thematic cartography, thematic maps, they are maps with themes. This theme could be for socioeconomic status or any other thing, any other topic you like, and as long as you can visualize it using a map. So in order to produce thematic maps, cartographers need to collect human demographic data. Okay, so that's the reason why thematic mapping is closely related to census. Okay, and there are excellent examples of early thematic cartography. We saw them before in this course. I would like to just review them a little bit so you have an impression, okay? So the first one is Charles Miner's map of Napoleon's disastrous Russian campaign of 1912. This is a fantastic example of thematic mapping. 6 variables are included in one simple but complex map, right? It's simple because it's very clear, it's well organized, easy to read. It's complex because there are so many visual variables included in this map, right? The second map is John Snow's map of the cholera outbreak in London. This map is also considered as an early and perfect combination of geography and public health, right? In this map, the length of each black bar here is used to address the number of cases at each block, right? And then the second milestone is the rise of GIS. It happened in 1990s, and people were excited about making maps using personal computers, right? And you can just use a software to draw maps instead of using pencils and papers, right? So this was a huge shift for cartography because we do not need to draw hard copy maps anymore. We can use PCs to do the same thing. And of course, in 1990s, internet developed pretty fast, right? It provides our society a new way to connect, to communicate. It's also a good thing for cartography because we can make maps and share them using internet. Okay, so some basic knowledge about internet here. First one is a very basic structure, data structure for internet data sets. It's called hypertext. We're actually using it every day right now, right? So when we're, just check this figure. When we are checking a specific web page, right? This is it. And there could be keywords, right? And these keywords, they are connected to hyperlinks, which means that if you click one of them, you will be directed to another page. And in that page, there could be more keywords. When you connect them, you are going to be redirected to other pages, right? So this is a very convenient, straightforward way to share information on the internet. Due to this convenience, we can share maps, we can add text to the internet, and use this method, straightforward method, to share information, share maps, right? So secondly, because now we have internet, so we have servers. So servers, they are basically special PCs deployed to different locations to store information from all internet, right, from users. So data shift from discrete to ephemeral. What does it mean? It means that we do not use hard drives. We do not want to use hard drives or a floppy disk like this to store information. We want to store information to servers, to the hard drives of servers. So when we need the information, we grab them to our local hard drive and use them. And when we don't use them anymore, we don't need them anymore, we can just release them to let them go back to the server. That's the reason why this type of information or this type of data is called ephemeral, because it's temporary. It's only on your hard drive temporarily for several minutes, for several hours, then it is gone, right? So this is internet. And when we're combining cartography and internet, it requires cartographers to have some knowledge in computer science. So this is the tricky part, because computer scientists or computer engineers, they have the knowledge to program, to code, but they do not have knowledge for making maps. On the other hand, with cartographers, with geographers, we know how to make maps, but we are not very familiar with computer science. Most of us don't know how to program properly and publish and make maps online and publish them and share them online. So there is this gap between computer science and cartography when we're trying to make maps online, right? So that's the gap we're trying to mitigate right now. That's the reason why now we have a lot of classes in the Department of Geography. They are not only about cartography and GIS, they're also about programming. They are also about computer science, right? So today, internet is everywhere. We can use PCs, tablets, mobile phones to access internet, and we can use different programs, apps, the software to access internet, to manipulate our data on the internet. So it looks like that we don't want discrete media anymore, because today the world is changing pretty fast, and also internet provides a way for us to track this fast changing world, right? And internet allows us to be more interactive, right? When we publish something online, maps or other medias, we can interact with other people very conveniently. So it looks like ephemeral data is pretty good, right? We don't need discrete media anymore. And that is actually the fact. People are sending more and more information to the internet, photos, videos, audios, because you can store them very conveniently. You don't have to use a local hard drive, and you can share them easily using internet. But I would say that um, internet is good. Sharing data, sharing maps on the internet is good, but it's not perfect. And this argument has been there online for a pretty long time. And some people would use that term called digital black hole to describe the internet right now. And yeah, and this idea, this argument is not only from normal people, but from important people like the vice president of Google. I quote him here. We digitalize things because we think we will preserve them. But we don't understand is that unless we take other steps, those digital versions may not be any better and may even be worse than the artifacts that we digitalize. If there are photos you really care about, print them out. It means that although hard copies can be damaged, can be destroyed easily by something like a fire, earthquake, nature disaster, but you should also know that servers, your digital data can also be damaged, right? And especially when you do not have access to internet and you need the data, you need the information, you have no other way to access them because they are on servers. You need to use internet to do that. So it means that now we're in a world of internet. But sometimes if you want to preserve something permanently, it's still better to keep them in a physical form, right? Okay. So now since we're talking about Google, let's talk about more about Google Maps, because Google Maps is a big change of web mapping. It was first released in 2005, and it was a huge leap in web mapping because Google moved actually moved everything that you can show with a map to the internet. We know that, and I agree that Google Maps is one of the best map applications right now in the world, and it's very convenient, it's powerful, and I have to say that I cannot live without it right now. But in this course, in the next several slides, I would like to talk about a little bit about the limitations of Google Maps. Please be careful that I think Google Maps is a good application. But here, I just want to give some comments critical comments on Google Maps, okay? So we need to understand both sides of anything, right? Good side and not that good side. Okay, so limitations on Google Maps. So the first one is that Google Maps has become and expected as the standard of the industry, which means that today, no matter what kind of map apps you're trying to use, you always say a general structure in terms of the web map on the right side of the slide, right? So everybody is following this template. This is a good thing because it saved a lot of time for people to figure out, okay, what kind of UI should I design? What kind of map should I show people? Instead of that, now you just need to follow the template Google Maps provides. But the bad part about this is that this is the mainstream. And if you want to be creative, no matter as an individual developer, or as a small company, you cannot escape from this. Okay, so that's the first limitation. The second one is the past, but we should still know that Google Maps used to promote inaccurate representations. Especially it used something called web Mercator projection to portray the whole world. And you should know that this web Mercator projection exaggerated the size of mid to high latitude areas a lot. So today, now if you go to Google Map or if you go to Google Earth, if you zoom out continuously, you will see a whole globe instead of this two-dimensional web Mercator projection maps like before. I think several years ago. I'm not sure when they began to use the globe whale, but this Mercator projection, web Mercator projection, was used before. I think at least 1 year ago. All right, so that's the second limitation. And the third one is that Google Maps does not allow customization of its base map, which means that you have to agree with people's, no, sorry, you have to agree with Google's methods to divide this world. Okay, Google Maps exercises tremendous power over reality. Okay, example would be like this. So this is a fake news. Okay, this is a fake news. So somebody pointed out that Google removed Palestine from their map. So Palestine is a distributed area, right? It considers itself as a state, but a lot of people, they do not agree with that. Okay, so when Google Maps show this specific area on their map, it is very crucial to decide if we should just label Palestine as a country on Google Map, right? That's arbitrary, but that's political, and a lot of people care about that. So this fake news pointed out that okay, Google Maps, Google, they deleted Palestine from their map. So a lot of people were not happy about this, but it turned out to be a fake news. But you should also know that Google does have this power to label or not label a specific area, or consider or not consider a specific area as a country or as something else. So this power belongs to Google, and it is the first place in the industry. So this power can be abused. Be careful, can be abused. I'm not saying that it has been abused, okay? But this is also a limitation. And nobody can change their base maps for now, okay? So this is the power of Google. So no matter, let's get back to web mapping again. So no matter what kind of maps you're trying to make, a hard copy map, a map on your local hard drive, or a map you want to share via internet, communication is always a purpose. Okay, it doesn't change. That's a purpose. And just like making normal maps, right? You have to ask yourself these several questions, right? To make sure that your map is effective. Okay, who is the intended audience for this map? Which data will best communicate things of interest? What are the 1 to 5 things I want this map to communicate clearly? Right? You cannot put too many variables in one map, right? And which design elements will help the map user receive the message most clearly? Which means some map elements should be there. Some of them should not. Okay, these questions, I believe you have learned how to answer them in cartography class. And in geovisualization, it's the same thing. In web mapping, it's still the same thing. You have to ask these questions and answer them before making a web map. Okay, and another principle for web mapping is that there are a lot of things that you can do with web maps, but it doesn't mean that you have to do them all. Okay, so it means that you do not have to do web maps only for doing web maps, right? You should do it when it is necessary. Making a map look fancy does not compensate for inappropriate design and ineffective communication. So in summary, you should evaluate if it is necessary to make a web map. And beyond that, you can make this web map very fancy, very interactive, but before that, you should consider if that is necessary. Do not do this only for doing this, okay? Okay, that's the first part of the video.